Hi guys, so this week in our discussion board we're talking about stress and what it does to the brain, which was a really good reminder for me because I majored in health and exercise science and we talked about the brain a lot, but I completely forgot what stress does to me and my brain when I get so stressed. So for me, my brain gets so tired and then I get so sick and so exhausted that I can't even function. And so it's a good reminder that our size and our structure and function of our brain really is inhibited when we are so stressed, hence why we need to do self-care in graduate school, to not have our brains be shrinking and due to stress. It's harder for us to learn, which I've noticed last year when I was really stressed. Me retaining information was much more difficult than when I was just relaxed. So the hormones and all the stress with that is astronomical. And us as girls already have enough to deal with, so why should we have more stress and increase more hormones and make it even worse? So exercising and meditation is so helpful. For me, exercise is huge. One thing that I put on the Padlet board for stress reliever and self-care is running. I try to do that at least 3 times a week. So far I've done it 2. I'll do another one tomorrow. And then also, I'm not a big meditator, but I can meditate when I'm gardening or doing yard work. So yesterday I spent a couple hours just doing yard work in the front yard and cutting the grass and pulling weeds, and that was my time to be with myself and with nature and kind of do my own meditation. And so therefore, self-care with things like that is a necessity. Because if we can't care for ourselves and make us unstressed and healthy, then we can't care for our patients and our client systems that come to us for help. Therefore, we have to take care of ourselves. We can't rely on other people. Yes, we have support systems like our family and friends and classmates, but we have to take care of ourselves in order to care for other people. And I really liked how Megan McCormick defined self-care as the sustained and intentional practice in your life to preserve your wellness and to maintain a wholeness in being. I think that implies it's all of us. It's not just exercising, it's not just eating well, it's not just getting sleep. It's the whole system of your body that you have to focus on and make sure is healthy to do that. And it's revolutionary, like she was saying, because being a holistic well-being and having that all intact isn't thought of until the last handful of years as something that's so important with the preservation of self. And she spoke of self-care for her with eliminating shame and guilt and negative self-talk, and that reminded me I'm always hard on myself and do a lot of negative self-talk, so that was a good reminder to flip it and try to be positive with what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling towards school or work or other life stressors. And she talked about practicing rituals of self-care. For me, that's spending time with my family and, like I said, running and doing gardening. Also, coloring is a great thing to do. It relieves a lot of stress, and I think I put that on the Padlet board this week. And then the last one, which goes along with positivity, is what she said about choosing optimism. Be optimistic about the week, about the day, about your future, especially with so many things for us pending, like our licensing exam, the end of school, our capstone presentation, which I'm doing next week, so I might be stressed. But taking all those things into account to help with your self-care. I did my 600 hours last year at the St. Al's emergency room in Nampa, and I quickly found out about compassion fatigue because I was dealing with a lot of trauma, a lot of suicide attempts, overdose, gunshot wounds, things like that, and trying to help all those kind of people really put a burden on me. And I was having a hard time coping with dealing with all of the trauma I was seeing. Thankfully, I had great friends and family who would listen and help me work through those processes, and my supervisors, in order to still help me be empathetic and help these individuals, but also care for myself so that I don't bring their issues and traumas home with me that then affects me. And it makes complete sense that the helping profession totally experiences that, whether you're a doctor, social worker, even police officers and firemen. They could easily have compassion fatigue. And although it's like very, very easily treated, it's something that we want to catch, especially in ourselves, before we have so much post-traumatic growth that we cannot help the individuals that we're needing to. And so I really liked how the speaker spoke about just taking 10 minutes for you each day. For me, I take it each hour, and I go walk around at work, or I like read garbage magazines like people or something, but something that takes it away and isn't making you also be hoity-toity and say, well, I did this, so I'm a good person. Like she was saying, the invisible badges. And burnout, I thought it was the same thing as compassion fatigue until I talked through that with my supervisors earlier this spring. And I wasn't worn out or tired because I hated my job. I was worn out and tired because I was so empathetic and taking everything home. I still wanted to work all the time, but trying to then balance the compassion and empathy was a huge learning thing for me in the emergency room. And I know I'll take that into my next field or job placement, because I do want to be in the hospital and I do want to be in an emergency room, and you do experience a lot of trauma every day and different kinds of trauma. I really enjoyed listening to all these speakers. I love TED Talks, and it was a really great reminder of how important it is for me to care for myself and have others make sure I'm caring for myself in order to continue successfully in school and with patients and with work. So pray for me. I have my capstone presentation next weekend, and have a great Labor Day weekend.